Hi guys, Declan here from CampusConnect. I've put together this short recorded overview of the service, just a walkthrough to give you a kind of fuller picture of what it is and how it works for applicants. So I'm just going to go through the mobile app, show you a little bit in terms of the admin, the back end, what the university teams can see and do, and then a quick look at the service that we provide to support. So I hope this is useful. So as discussed yesterday, what we do is we deploy a mobile, customized mobile app, a unique instance of the service for each team that we work with. It sits in the Google Play Store and in the iOS. It's a gated system, so it's an invite only. Typically, the teams send it out and make it available to their applicants. When the students are invited to join, what they do is they generate a profile. In generating a profile, we capture key values, and this is completely configurable depending on what you want to capture. So typically subject area, obviously some personal details, subject area, maybe accommodation type, where they're from, social interests, etc. These values are important because what they do is they help us to connect the students with best match applicants. Typically the applicants will want to connect with others from the subject area, connect with somebody who's from their area who's also travelling to study in September. And what we've added recently for Liverpool is accommodation. So we have a drop-down list of accommodation for on-campus accommodation because the students were looking to find people who they would be living with. Once the students join, the system then helps connect them, so they can get a list of suggested connections. They can also search. And they're invited or they're prompted to join these chat groups. So if I'm a psychology applicant, I'll see psychology, but I won't see an engineering group. So the groups are filtered down, so the students are not seeing groups that aren't relevant. So you have a mix of very focused groups, tend to be fewer numbers in terms of the applicants. So if you have a subject group, obviously there will be fewer students from that subject area. Or from a particular area, or where they're from, as in, or if you have something that's a bit more global, so you could have some groups tend to be more widely accessible to kind of more applicants, so a say hello group or meet the team type thing. So you can have a mixture, and the idea is just the students aren't trawling through lots of groups trying to find the ones that are relevant to them. Again, this is configurable depending on how the team wants to set up. Typically what you have is you have peer groups, as mentioned yesterday. So these are peer-led groups that are students coming together with a student ambassador, and you have staff-led groups. The staff-led groups really don't come into play until later in the cycle, closer to induction orientation, because they're more process type stuff. 90% of the groups tend to be peer-led. It's what drives the groups, is what drives all the engagement on the app, as the students reaching out, connecting with each other. So peer-led support, so this is an example just of the psychology group, the kind of interaction that you'll see in there, where you have differentiated profiles so the students can see who the fellow applicants are. You often have multiple cohorts as well, sometimes if there's a January start or a September start, so they can be filtered as well. More recently we've added graduates, alumni to certain cohorts. So for example, for postgrad applicants that are looking at a particular subject area, we find it useful to bring in an alumni, maybe to connect with those students within that subject group to talk about the job opportunities. Then for the teams, what they get then is access to push notifications, so they can alert students and keep them on track and help them through that kind of onboarding and transition period through to successful enrollment. I'll just jump out and I will. So this is the Liverpool John Moores back end. This is the live system. What you get is as the students register, they capture their applicant number. This is where they're actually, I think it's halls of residence. There's where they're from, what they're studying, when they're starting. You get a percentage in sort of engagement, which is useful to pick out those that are flagging, and you get sort of a last active when they first registered. So you can draw patterns of engagement from this. what Liverpool are hoping to do is to also include group engagement in these analytics, so they get a kind of picture that they're able to look at the different subject areas and gauge really where perhaps more peer support is required, to pull in those that are struggling. Then in terms of the groups, what it looks like is, again, this is the live, there's probably 50-60 groups on here, I think. On here as well we have postgrad and we have international, but it's the volume really is around undergrad. So there's a mixture of different types of groups. There's accommodation groups, there are over 21s chat, travelling to campus. Students can see a list of, so this is a student ambassador. They get a list in the app actually of those who have members of the group. And it's just a way to bring them together so they can connect and chat. And what we find is they will come together in the groups and then they'll often spin off into direct messaging as well. So you get a lot of, it's about an equal power where you get group conversations and then applicants pulling together in their own kind of smaller one-to-one type stuff in DMs. There's lots of other stuff here, but I'll not go through it in too much detail because you can dig in and look at trends and keywords and conversations and so on, to look at patterns in terms of what the applicants are. So that's the LGMU back, and then just a quick, what we do is we support in terms of peer connection, in terms of setting up, ensuring that there's opportunities for all the applicants and registrants to connect. We look and monitor for gaps perhaps in terms of peer connectivity. We also support with kind of engagement opportunities, spinning up new groups, looking at live events on the app, and we look for feedback from you in terms of new features and new functionality development. We do run some content campaigns as well, which is an option. We provide training for ambassadors and for graduates, and that's obviously delivered now online as a series of workshops with regular check-ins, so the ambassadors are able to use the service in the right way. There's monthly reporting and insights, and particularly looking at those applicants in areas where there needs to be more peer support to pull them back in through that kind of transition. So that's a quick snapshot, a quick run through it. I hope that's useful. In the email I've got details in terms of pricing and how it is set up in terms of sort of next steps and so on. So if there's anything else, do come back. I hope you found this useful.